What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Happy to have you on here. So today we're going to be looking at Tailwind UI or Tailwind CSS if you prefer, and we're going to see today what it is all about and how it works. So the first thing, if you want to use Tailwind UI, or let's just go with Tailwind CSS, you want to head straight away to this URL, tailwindui.com, and you're going to have access to it. So basically, if you have already used Bootstrap before, or if you have used this kind of compiled CSS frameworks, then you are going to understand how Tailwind CSS works as well. So you can have access to it, to the files, and you just have to add them to your code and add the references in your header or in your footer for the JavaScript, and you'll be able to use Tailwind UI in your project. So basically, to just put it simply, Tailwind CSS just allows you to code very fast by just incorporating some specific CSS classes in your different components. So what do I mean? For example, we're going to be looking at some of the examples here, but basically you are able to integrate all of these components or all of these items or all of the components that come with Tailwind CSS easily just by adding little bits of code into your own project or into your own app. So let's just see, for example, the hero section here. The hero section comes with its components. So if I want this component here like this, all I need to do is write these elements. As you can see, if I want these components, let me change that preview. Okay, let's transition between the preview and the code. So if I want this component that I'm seeing is a hero section centered in the middle, all I need to do is to add this code. And you're going to notice the particularity of this code is not just the data, but just the classes that are being added. So Tailwind UI or Tailwind CSS adds the functionality of you adding some specific colors, some specific functionalities, just using classes, for example. So if I want this component, I just have to integrate this. So, and so on and so forth. So it comes with already a huge database of components that you can easily integrate just by using the code they have provided for you. And not just that, you can equally use the classes as you see fit. You can use the classes as you see fit. You just have to understand how they work, and I'm going to explain it a little bit. So let's go with another example. For example, let's go with these spinners or these elements here. So let's go with that. So if you take a little bit look at the code, so what do we have here? Deploy faster. If we look at this word here, deploy faster, how did we get it to be centered on the screen? Normally it's at the top because the line of code is at the top, yeah. But how did we get it to be centered on the screen and to be this color? So if you come and take a look at the code, all of it happens in the CSS. So to center it on the screen, we went with text center. Once you add that class, once you have installed Tailwind CSS into your project and you add this class to any element, it's going to center it on the screen. If you add text days/7, it's going to give it that font size. If you add font semi-bold, it's going to give it that semi-bold feel. And if you add this class here, it's going to give it that color. So that's how we got this specific text to look like this. And so that's the ideology behind Tailwind CSS. Just by using classes, you're able to customize your full project. Traditionally, if you wanted to do something like this, you have to put a class to identify this specific word or this specific tag, and then go into a CSS file and do all of this manual coding where you have to specify the elements that apply to that specific tag. You get it right? So you have to change the color, font size, and all in that specific class, and you have to do that not just for this tag but for all of the different tags which maybe have the same class, or the tags which you are trying to target. You get it right? I don't know if you understand. So for example, if I wanted deploy and maybe mobile friendly to have the same properties, I can either give them the same classes, right? I can give them the same classes and the classes will have their definition. Now, but if I wanted them to have a certain difference, maybe I wanted this one to have a bigger font size, or have to define a specific class for it and go again to CSS and do that. So there'll be a lot of back and forth in a CSS file, and so much code will have to be generated. But with this, I can easily give them the same properties just by adding the specific classes that I want, and I can specify the difference just by giving them a different class, you see. So that's how I can easily do. So that's why, for example, you can see here that they look pretty similar aside from the color, and the difference between them is just, there's text indigo here, but here there's no text indigo. This is a text gray, and that's how they have a different color, but they have basically maybe the same sizes and all relatively. So this is how you can easily create these websites very fast using Tailwind CSS and just HTML. So you just have to use HTML and Tailwind CSS. It equally works with React and Vue as well. So building websites with Tailwind CSS is very, very fast. Not just because you already have a huge database of components you can just easily just copy and paste, but also because of the way you can customize elements. So no need to have to go into any CSS file or anything. Just from your front end, just from your main HTML code, you can design things, add colors, and do whatever customization you want to do. So Tailwind CSS is very, very useful, and it has pretty much become the standard. It's not just the colors and the formatting that you can change, but even the layouts, you can change them completely. So let's see, for example, some layouts here. So for example, let's go with maybe something like this, multi-column layouts. So here you can see this layout here. So how was this created? All of this was created just with HTML and the Tailwind CSS. Even the icons were added there using Tailwind CSS. So how was this created? If we get the code, for example, all right, yeah, so maybe this one is paid. Let's try to go with something that is free. All right, so let's just go with something that, let's say, for example, this one. Let's just go with this. So how was all of this created just with Tailwind CSS and HTML? So I'm trying to get some free examples here. Maybe let's just go with this. Yeah, let's not complicate it. Let's go with this. So how was all of this created just with Tailwind CSS and HTML? Look at this customization is amazing. It looks beautiful. So you might be thinking to yourself, a lot of CSS had to be written to have this, but no, it's just a couple of lines using just Tailwind CSS. These are all of the lines here. So that's what was used to create that. So for example, now, how do you get these two columns? So to get these two columns, you have to go and see the element that specifies them. So if you come here, this is where it begins. It begins here. For example, if you come here, you have choose the right plan. Let's look for that. Choose an affordable plan. No. Choose the right plan. Okay, yeah. So this choose an affordable plan. So just after these lines, you see that it all begins here. So once you understand the syntax of Tailwind CSS, things are going to go a lot smoothly. For example, MX means margin on the x-axis. So MX means margin of the x-axis. So it's basically saying the margin on the x-axis is automatic. You get it right? Margin on the x-axis is automatic. Margin at the top, margin top is 16. You mean she pushes it down. It goes with a grid. You say create a grid. So the maximum width on LG devices, grid columns 1. So all of these have their meanings. Once you read the documentation of Tailwind CSS, you're going to understand what they mean. But basically, how did we get two columns here? Because this is what it is. So the margin automatic means that it's going to center the items, and the margin to the left and to the right are going to be automatic. So it's going to center the items. And so how did we get two columns? This is it that is specified here. Grid columns for the LG devices, which is kind of my device right now, the grid columns is going to be 2. The grid column is going to be 2. You get it right? That's what it means. So if it was 3, we'll get 3 columns. If it was 4, we get 4 columns. So that's it. So for example, here, or you cannot access the code, but you would have seen that you'll be 3 instead. So that's how it works. So you can specify 3 columns, and that's how you get that. And now once you go down into the element, you see now the customization for each of those cards. So I really didn't want to go too much into details, but to give you just an overview of what Tailwind CSS is all about and why it is so loved these days. So with it, you are able to create beautiful looking and amazing apps just using HTML and classes. That's pretty much it. You don't need to create a CSS code anymore. Just using classes, you're able to build your application really, really fast. Imagine if you had to design each of these elements independently, it will take you forever. So that's really cut down development time by a lot. So definitely check it out, check how it works. You can see some examples here, some templates which were all built with with Tailwind UI or Tailwind CSS. So you can see some examples here. Some amazing websites like this were all built just with that. Look how beautifully designed these websites are. They were all built just using Tailwind UI. So if somebody had to really be designing all of this using CSS, it will take them forever to do just that. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you think about it and if it's something you're going to use in your projects. I hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you on the next one.